Chapter 26: The Butterfly Effect. They say that when a butterfly flaps its diaphanous wings in a forest deep in the Amazonian wilderness, it is enough to start a hurricane in the far reaches of the Pacific. That such a minor movement of air in one remote and quiet place could be the start of an environmental effect so huge and destructive so far away can still be very hard to believe, even when decades of evidence show that this is exactly what happens. In this instance, the flap of tiny wings were the actions of Graham, bouncer in Delhi. The destructive effect was the removal of a statue, made from leftover solarium, from the future. The difference here, though, was the hundreds of years between the two events. Even in reality, as soon as the solarium had been acquired by the boys, the statue had ceased to exist, before even its creation. Due to Sebastian's very close relationship with the solarium, the fact he had actually handled the statue meant that even though the physical thing had in one instance ceased to exist, his memories of it had not. This in turn meant that now in 2285, as Sebastian walked the halls and corridors of Solar's towers, he was the only remaining entity, in the entirety of existence, that remembered the solarium statue. He regularly walked his empire, perusing his accomplishments, or at least the trophies he had collected as part of his successes. The trophy, in this example, was the solarium statue, the accomplishment, its discovery all those years ago in a hole in the ground in Greece, and the results from the experiments that had confirmed the properties of the as yet undiscovered material as being almost unlimited. The only reason its limits had not been fully discovered being due to the fact they did not have the science and understanding to even comprehend them in the early 21st century. Over those first few months, when so many things were learned, forcing others to be relearned, that science, as they knew it before solarium, was not the science they knew after. The lines between belief and incredulity had needed to be redrawn, the limits moved past any idea of current thought. What was once thought impossible or science fiction was fast becoming possible and science fact. They had quickly discovered the physical properties of solarium, its strength, durability, resistance to almost any and all abrasion, cutting, smashing, pulling, heat and cold. It was only after that they had explored its electrical capabilities, and then only by accident. Why anyone would have thought what looked like a rock have any electrical abilities at all? Well, the truth was no one had. On the fateful day, a laboratory assistant had mistakenly left some solarium near a transformer, connected to a meter. After a few seconds, the assistant had seen the needle start to move upwards. The solarium was inducing a current in its metal windings. Once this property had been confirmed, every test was thrown at solarium. This had meant the time to finish had grown considerably, but the lessons they were learning were priceless. The advantage that solarium was going to give Sepulchre was unimaginable. It was only after all the physical and electrical tests had been completed had someone considered the possibility that solarium was actually a wonder material that could do anything. No scientist had made this leap. It had come from the mind of a child, one of the scientist's sons who would, had it not been for a teacher training day, have been at school learning conventional science whilst their parent was breaking nearly every law that they were studiously being taught. The mind of a child, someone that still had no limits in what they thought possible, imposing nothing on the world around them, when considering the new and unknown. They had simply said, "Wouldn't it be great if you could teleport or time travel or something like that?" A simple childish thought, wrought from the many movies and stories they had been told. But with a material such as solarium, could anything really be possible? It had taken months of trial and error, guess and hypothesis, but one day it had worked. It had been documented, as had the previous 182 failed experiments, but test 183 had been the success story they had sought. Somehow solarium did not just generate power, it generated energy fields, very strong energy fields, and not just electromagnetic fields, but gravitational fields too, and with gravitational fields came the possibility for time travel and instantaneous travel. Bending space-time upon itself meant someone could travel from one point in space to another many light years away in the time it takes to walk across a room. It also meant that time no longer moved in a single direction, It could be moved through like water in any direction to any point in the future or the past of this or any other in the multiverse. That one experiment had caused many scientists to laugh and cry in a single instant. They were both overjoyed and heartbroken that all they had learnt now had to be relearnt, but for this subject there were now no teachers. They would have to stumble from discovery to discovery on their own with only their work to guide them. It was going to be hard won, but the ultimate prize was almost in their grasp, and it was one only Sepulchre would hold and control. The rest of the world would not even know it existed. That way Sebastian could achieve exactly what he wanted, when he wanted it, whenever that may be. As Sebastian walked down the corridor, he realized that something was wrong, a scratching at the back of his head, a needling he couldn't resolve. A feeling that something was no longer correct, something had changed, something had been taken from him, but not from his person but from his surroundings. But what was it, and this far into his private domain? How could they have done it? He walked on, looking at every case on display, but nothing was wrong, nothing seemed out of place, but his head was still scratching, his memory urging him to remember something. Rounding the last corner, his subconscious saw it long before anything else alerted him. There was no statue, but worse than that, there is no place for the statue not to be, nowhere for it to have been stolen from. He stopped and thought, his conscious mind now tearing at his subconscious, trying to pull fragments of thoughts from 270 years ago, but failing at every turn. The discovery in Greece, the experiments on Solarium, the results, the ultimate prize of time travel, the commemorative statue made from the leftover Solarium. Running to his desk, he pulled up the reports of the dig in Greece. Reading the pages on screen, he found what he was looking for. Total Solarium recovered, 45 kilograms. That wasn't right. He hunted further for the true facts as he remembered them, the fact they had found 100 times that amount. Then the penny dropped. There was no statue made from leftover Solarium. Why? Because there was no leftover Solarium. Now he wanted to understand what had happened, and that was a job for one man and one man alone.